There's one more person I would like to introduce to you today, and I'm quite sure he's here. I haven't seen him, but I understood he was coming. There's I believe that he's made it today, and that is Jack Bogle, who I talked about in the annual report. Jack Bogle has probably done more for the American investor than any man in the country. And Jack, could you stand up? There he is. Jack Bogle, many years ago, he wasn't the only one that was talking about an index fund, but it wouldn't have happened without him. I mean, Paul Samuelson talked about it, Ben Graham even talked about it, but the truth is it was not in the interest of the investment industry of Wall Street. It was not in their interest actually to have the development of an index fund, the index fund, because it brought down fees dramatically. And as we've talked about some in the reports and other people have commented, index funds overall have delivered for shareholders a result that has been better than Wall Street professionals as a whole. And part of the reason for that is that they brought down the costs very significantly. So when Jack started, very few people, certainly Wall Street, did not applaud him. And he was the subject of some derision and a lot of attacks. And now we're talking trillions when we get into index funds, and we're talking a few basis points when we talk about investment fees in the case of index funds, but still hundreds of basis points when we talk about fees elsewhere. And I estimate that Jack, at a minimum, has left in the pockets of investors without hurting them overall in terms of performance at all, gross performance. He's put tens and tens and tens of billions into their pockets, and those numbers are going to be hundreds and hundreds of billions over time. So it's Jack's 88th birthday on Monday. So I just say happy birthday, Jack, and thank you on behalf of American investors. And Jack, I've got great news for you. You're going to be 88 on Monday, and in only 2 years you'll be eligible for an executive position at Berkshire. So hang in there, buddy.
He called you a hero, man. I mean, how do you take that?
Well, I mean, to be called a hero by a hero gives it more credibility than being called a hero by a non-hero. But I don't look. I've already written him a letter this morning of thanks, and I'm not a hero. I'm an ordinary guy, very ordinary guy, who's tried to do my best for investors, and who gave a damn about the people that are investing and wanted to make sure they got a fair shake. And if that's heroism, well, so what? So be it.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful to be out there.
We have some very sad news to share with you tonight. John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard, has passed away at the age of 89. He was a frequent guest on CNBC. Tyler Matheson has a look back at Bogle's incredible career that helped shape the investment industry.
Indexing always works best, up, down, or sideways.
In 1975, Jack Bogle started the Vanguard Group, and with it, a new way of investing.
Jack was the creator, effectively, of the index funds.
Index funds, mutual funds whose portfolios match a market barometer like the S&P 500, are commonplace today. But they were unheard of in the 1970s, much less the early 1950s, when Bogle wrote his senior thesis about the concept at Princeton.
I said mutual funds should be operated in the most honest, efficient, and economical way possible. I had a sentence in my thesis that said mutual funds can make no claim to superiority over the market averages.
Bogle's thesis research laid the groundwork for what would become one of the most powerful investing movements of the late 20th century. He concluded that active trading mutual fund managers failed as a group to outperform the relevant indexes, especially when you subtract fees and expenses.
Anybody can do it for a year, and if you can do it for 5 years, and if you can do it for 10 years. But over an investment lifetime, there's about a 3% chance that a money manager can beat the market.
After Princeton, Bogle went to work for Wellington Management for over 2 decades, eventually becoming CEO. He was later terminated for what he called an unwise merger. So he started over, putting the indexing concepts from his thesis into practice at Vanguard.
Investors suddenly found the playing field more level. So to a certain extent, in fact, to a great extent, I would say, he democratized investing for individuals, which was a huge contribution in the mutual fund space.
That initial fund, called the First Index Investment Trust and later renamed the Vanguard 500 Index, tracked the S&P 500. Skeptics ridiculed it as Bogle's folly. But by 1990, index investing had taken root. The reason? Bogle turned out to be right. In the 15 years ending in January 2017, 9 out of 10 actively managed large-cap mutual funds underperformed Vanguard's 500 index. Today, Vanguard has more than $5 trillion under management.